And good afternoon. It's 1 p.m. Eastern Time, and welcome to the last of our 2020 primary election virtual candidate forums. If you're on social media, please hit the share button and make sure all your friends have the opportunity to see today's discussion as well. My name is Jim Rosica, news director of the Tallahassee Democrat and Tallahassee.com. I'll be today's moderator. I'd like to thank our partners, the League of Women Voters of Tallahassee, and I will introduce Felicia Steele, who will be asking questions for the League. Good afternoon, Ms. Steele.
Good afternoon, Jim. Thank you very much.
Thank you for being here. Periodically, you'll see both our election websites on the screen, and that's where you can go online to find more information to help you figure out how to vote with confidence. For these forums, we are using a platform called StreamYard, and we give you our standard warning. It's 2020. Anything that can go wrong will go wrong. We ask that you bear with us through any technical difficulties we may come across. We are here today with the candidates for Leon Second Judicial Circuit Judge, Group 4. With us today, Tiffany Baker. Good afternoon.
Afternoon.
Nina Moody.
Good afternoon, and it's actually Nina Moody.
That's why that's why I thought. Okay, sorry.
No
Nina
problem.
Moody, thank you for being here.
Thank you.
Amanda Wall.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, and thank you for being here. Another candidate is in the race for this seat, Pete Williams, but he could not be with us today. So here's how it's going to work today. We'll take turns asking questions, and we will rotate which candidate gets to answer first. We're going to ask you to keep your answers to about 90 seconds. I'll keep time, and the way that I will tell you your time is up is I will just gently break in as if you're still speaking at the end of 90 seconds. I had a bell, but people couldn't hear it, so I'm just gonna, I'll just gently remind you when your time has expired on a particular question. You don't have to come to a dead stop. What I try to do is I let you, if you're mid-sentence, I'll let you finish your sentence, and then we have to move on. We will have a lightning round at the very end where we ask you to keep your questions, answers to questions to just about a sentence. And after that, we'll have closing statements from each candidate. As an FYI to our viewers, judges and potential judges, judicial candidates, are very limited about what they are allowed to talk about. If you have a question for the candidates, please type it in the comments section, but do be aware there are some questions they just can't answer. And all of you are judicial candidates, but you're still covered by the same canons of judicial conduct. At this point, are there any questions from the candidates about the procedure?
No.
No.
Gotcha. Okay, then let's jump in and start with the first question. The first question is from the Tallahassee Democrat. And it's not actually a question. Many of our audience members aren't as familiar with judicial candidates as with other types of political candidates. We're going to ask you each to tell us a little bit about your background and what qualifies you for office. And we will start with Ms. Baker, followed by Ms. Moody, followed by Ms. Wall. And so, Ms. Baker, to you first.
Thank you. And thank you to the Tallahassee Democrat and the League of Women Voters for hosting this forum. It's such a blessing to be here to talk with the people of our community. I am Tiffany Baker, and I am running for Circuit Judge, seat 4. And so when we talk about what the qualifications are to actually run for Circuit Judge, the state of Florida has laid it out very simply, that one must be a practicing attorney for at least 5 years and a member of good standing with the Florida Bar. And they must reside in the area where they are seeking to preside as judge. And they must either pay a fee or get on the ballot by petition. Well, I have been practicing here in the Big Bend area for over 7 years, and primarily as a criminal defense attorney. I've tried cases from a simple possession up to a death penalty case. In a previous forum, I stated that I tried 30 cases, but I want to make sure that I correct that and that the record is clear. It's actually 28, and supervised one with legal interns. I've also handled family law cases. I'm practicing family law now, where I've handled contested divorces, injunction hearings, time-sharing plans, and paternity cases. I've also worked at Barrett, Basic and Brooks, one of the best personal injury law firms here in Tallahassee, where I was an associate attorney handling car accidents, slip and falls, and product liability cases. In addition to that, I have been living here. I grew up here in the Big Bend area, born and raised in Quincy, Florida, graduated from Amos P. Godby. After I graduated law school, I decided to come home, where I started out at the Public Defender's Office. So that
Ms. Baker, I got to stop because you're at a little bit over a minute and a half, but
Okay.
Thank you very much for that introduction.
Thank you.
Ms. Moody, go ahead.
Thank you. And thank you also to the Tallahassee Democrat and the League of Women Voters for putting this forum on here for us today. Currently, I am the Chief Assistant Public Defender at the Second Circuit Public Defender's Office for the entire circuit. I am actually the first female to be the Chief Assistant for the entire circuit as well. Before that, I was the Chief Assistant of Gadsden and Liberty Counties for Nancy Daniels. I have tried over 150 cases during my almost 20 years of being a criminal defense attorney. During the time of being a criminal defense attorney, I also became a certified family mediator. I did some pro bono divorces and have experience in family law as well. Prior to law school, I was a paralegal with the U.S. Department of Justice Antitrust Division for over 8 years before I moved down to Tallahassee to attend FSU Law School where I graduated in December of 2000. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Finally, Ms. Wall, if you want to go ahead and give an introduction, and since I gave Ms. Baker extra time, I'm going to give you 1:45 if you need it. So go right ahead.
Thank you. I'm Amanda Wall, and I have 31 years of legal experience in the state of Florida. I started off as a prosecutor when I first came out of law school in Miami. I was hired by Janet Reno in 1989, and in that capacity, I worked for 4.5 years in felony level criminal prosecution, and went from there to the Attorney General's office and worked in civil litigation in tort liability claims for Robert Butterworth's office. And about 25 years ago, my husband and I moved up to Tallahassee to start our family. And I moved up here within the Attorney General's office, but then went to work again in civil for the Florida Bar, representing committees and advising committees from Pensacola all the way to Jacksonville, Florida. On behalf of the Florida Bar and the Unlicensed Practice of Law Division. And then I went to private practice after having several of those years, obviously, in the public sector. And that was in family law litigation and mediation for several years before I became appointed as the administrative magistrate of this circuit in 2014 by the chief judge. As the administrative magistrate, I have presided over and heard and run a courtroom for more than 3,000 cases over that 6-year period. I have the experience as an advocate for 25 years, but I have the experience actually presiding over cases for 6 years. And in addition to my legal experience, I have volunteer experience as both a magistrate and an attorney, and in my private life in our circuit and in all 6 counties over the past 25 years that I've lived here. And
I
so
got to stop you there because that's the 1:45. But thank you very
and
much.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
And let's move on now. The next question goes to the league. Will be asked by Ms. Steele, and the order will be Ms. Baker, because you went first. You'll answer last. The order will be Moody, Wall, Baker. So Ms. Steele, go ahead, and Ms. Moody, you'll answer first.
Yes. Good afternoon.
Okay, good afternoon again. Understanding that judges are obligated to follow the law and to act impartially. In what ways do you believe prior experience primarily in civil litigation or as a prosecutor or as a defense attorney, how that affects the performance of judicial duties in criminal cases and civil cases?
If I understand the question correctly, well, I think any type of experience that you have had in the law, whether it be criminal law, family law, probate law, or civil law is necessary and a good thing to have as far as once you become a judge and being able to remain fair and impartial really has to do more with the person themselves. And I have had extensive experience representing thousands of clients over the almost 20 years that I've been practicing criminal law, and having to represent those clients in court where all we were allowed to present were the facts and the law and to argue and advocate for our clients. So as far as being able to be impartial on the bench, I believe it comes down to temperament and life experience. Thank you.
All right, Ms. Wall, you're next.
Do you mind if you repeat the question,
I do
Ms. Steele?
not.
Thank you.
Understanding that judges are obligated to follow the law and to act impartially. In what ways do you believe prior experience in civil litigation as a prosecutor or defense attorney, how that affects the performance of judicial duties in criminal cases and civil cases?
Well, I think that having the wide range of experience is necessary to become a judge, because a circuit judge in our circuit handles that area that is the jurisdiction, which is criminal cases, civil, and family cases. Having the necessary experience in all of those areas is very important. And how do you remain impartial, or how does that affect your impartiality? As a judicial officer or a quasi-judicial officer, you work every day to remain impartial, fair, and unbiased so that you are providing the services to the litigants and to the attorneys that is necessary for our justice system. And, having the experience in the area of law, in each of those areas of law, is important because you understand what issues are. You understand generally what the body of law is for each of those areas. And it's a very important aspect to becoming a judge. And the amount of experience you've had in those areas is also important. And so I hope that that is something that that my record of experience can show. Thank you.
And Ms. Baker.
Yes. So your question is, how does my experience of being a criminal defense attorney and a civil litigator help me on the bench, recognize the importance of fairness and impartiality? That is how I understood the question. Given that I've actually worked with the people, whether it has been as their criminal defense attorney or as their family law attorney or as their civil litigator, I understand the importance of meeting people where they are. I am a strong believer that judges should listen compassionately, because not everyone walks into the courtroom speaking the Queen's English. So it is with utmost importance that we still continue to treat them with dignity and respect. Respect is the cornerstone of order. So when we respect the people that stand before us, we are more apt to listen to them. We can hear not only what they're saying, but what they're not saying. And once we can truly hear their hearts and find out what the issue is, that is when we truly respect them. And by actually gleaning the issue that is most pressing in their case, then we can begin the journey to justice. But it starts with respect. And we can make sure that I will make sure that I am impartial by just simply following the law, and not putting my personal beliefs or my personal biases above the law. We as a judge,
I got to stop you there.
Thank you.
Thank you. The next question, we'll move on to the next question, and that'll be from the Democrat. We'll go in this order. This question, Ms. Wall, you'll answer first, then Ms. Baker, then Ms. Moody. It's actually a two-part question. Very simple. Explain your judicial philosophy in plain English. Ms. Wall.
Very good. My judicial philosophy is to be fair, impartial, unbiased, and to be prepared for every case. Being prepared for each case is extremely important when the litigants and the attorneys walk into the courtroom. And of course, being fair and impartial and unbiased is the one of the most important parts of our judicial system. And so my philosophy is to respectfully hear people, to listen to the witnesses, to the testimony of the litigants, and to give everyone a fair chance to have their day in court and give them the ability to feel as though they have had a fair shot in the courtroom, whether they win or lose. And I believe that as far as judicial philosophy, those are the most important things that you can strive to do. And it's what I've tried to do and what I've definitely tried to achieve over the last 6 years as a magistrate hearing cases.
Thank you very much. Next to answer is Ms. Baker.
Yes, thank you. So my judicial philosophy is simple: respect the people and respect the law. When it comes to respecting the people, people should be treated with dignity and respect. Secondly, each and every member in this community should be afforded an equal opportunity to be heard. And third, it is all about being fair and impartial. No matter what a person looks like, no matter their gender, no matter their sexual orientation, a judge must be fair and impartial. When it comes to the law, the judge must follow the law. The judge must be prepared. And I believe that when the judge does not know, the judge should step off the bench, go into their chambers and figure it out, whether it is researching the case, an issue, or just speaking to a fellow peer. I believe it is of the utmost importance for the judge to make sure that he or she gets it right. So that is my judicial philosophy: respecting the people and respecting the law. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And then finally, Ms. Moody, go ahead.
Thank you. And basically, I believe I will be echoing what Ms. Wall and Ms. Baker just both said so well. My judicial philosophy is to follow the law, to treat everyone that walks into the courtroom with dignity and respect, whether it be courtroom personnel, advocates, witnesses, the litigants in front of me. Everyone does have a right to be heard. I would be prepared. I would owe the people whose case was in front of me, I would owe them to be prepared for that case, to know the law, to know the facts, and to be ready when the case was heard in court. One thing I think is very important for judges to remember is that we do have a shared humanity, and that is something that I have learned over the last almost 20 years of representing the thousands of people that I have stood next to in court. We do have a shared humanity, and that does need to be remembered. And compassion is another element of someone being on the bench. Also, I would make sure that I was educated, taken the continuing legal education classes or do judicial classes as needed. I would make sure that I read and took the classes on impartial implicit bias training. I've already taken those classes, but I know there's more to learn, and I believe that would be important as well. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And now we turn to our next question, and we turn to the league. And we've done one complete rotation, so the order goes back to Ms. Baker. You'll go first, followed by Ms. Moody, and then Ms. Wall. So Ms. Steele, go ahead.
Do you believe that there are criminal diversion programs or potential programs that would reduce the rate of incarceration that are not being used in the Second Judicial Circuit? And if so, what are they, and how do you see the program being implemented?
Okay, great question. That's a great question because one of the reasons that I am running to serve as judge is because I want to give the people a judge that is mindful of the criminal justice reform that is sweeping this nation. It's a bipartisan issue, and it seeks to rehabilitate the individual. And when we rehabilitate the individual, we rehabilitate a community and thereby making our community stronger. So we do have diversion programs here in the Second Judicial Circuit, such as drug court. We also have a mental health docket, and we also have veterans court. Outside of the legal realm, we have great programs that are being instituted in the community. I would love to not see CCYS lose its funding. It is an agency that helps the youth who are at risk and who oftentimes are dealing with problems at home, and they seek the need to run away. CCYS has been great for our youth. Also, a program that I know of personally, Carter's Corner, which is headed by Sam Carter. He is doing a wonderful job helping young athletes get admission into school and making sure that they are on top of their grades. And he's also transporting them to different colleges so that they can do their interviews. So there are a host of different, I don't have time to go through all of them, but there are a host of different community programs that if we as a community can invest in, we can help our youth as a community. Thank
Ms.
you.
Baker, I gotta stop you there, and I'll just add an editor's note. I believe when you refer to CCYS, that's Capital City Youth Services,
Yes.
which runs a shelter for homeless and/or runaway teens. Is that
Yes.
correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you.
But some people might not know that.
Yes.
And I apologize for the interruption. So now we turn to Ms. Moody. You're next.
Thank you. Well, as Ms. Baker said, there are a lot of wonderful programs run in the community that is run by community leaders for diversion for youth and for adults as well. But I took the question more as in the judiciary itself at the courthouse, what type of programs maybe that we're not using here in the Second Circuit that maybe other circuits are using that might be a good addition here. As was already stated, we do use drug court. We do have vet court. We do have misdemeanor mental health court. The only program that I know that we did have funding for was mental health court for people charged with felonies that we currently do not have funding for.
Right.
That would be amazing to be able to get that funding back. And it's not that it wasn't a successful program. It was the funding wasn't there for it. It wasn't that we didn't have judges and attorneys at the public defender's office and the private bar at the state attorney's office that was willing to staff that program, because there were and there are still yet. So it's the only program that comes to my mind that we are not utilizing, that we could utilize, that would make a big difference for people, would be the felony mental health court. We've had great success with the misdemeanor mental health court, with drug court, and with vet court. And I believe being able to give that segment of our population, our citizens that need that help with mental health, who are charged with felonies, that would be one of the big things that needs to be worked on. Is getting the
Ms.
funding.
Moody, I'm sorry I got to stop you there, but thank you for your answer.
Thank
Finally, Ms. Wall.
Diversion programs are, statutory, and they have to be funded. And so some of what's been touched on is correct in that, of course, Veterans Court and Drug Court does have the funding, and Mental Health Court for diversion purposes. Mental Health Court is in place for felony and misdemeanor, and it's a wonderful way to address those types of cases in a separated kind of docket, in a specialty way. But as far as diversion is concerned, there isn't funding for that. Another area that would be great to have funding for, and that would be great for the legislature to be able to have funding for, would be in family sorts of cases, really is how it starts, but goes on and affects the trajectory of someone's life, of a child's life at least, through to the criminal system, which is trauma treatment, because that is a very large part of what we really deal with every single day at the courthouse are young people who have been affected by trauma in their lives, high conflict, by having family members who are mentally ill or who have drug addiction, who children who are exposed to violence on a regular basis, who end up being in the system. And if there was the ability to address that trauma and treatment for that trauma, could change the trajectory of those children's lives and those adults' lives. That would be a great wish list, but generally our circuit does a great job at handling, under the funding that we have, the diversion courts that we currently have. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And I actually need to apologize because the previous question that I asked, I said was a two-parter, and I totally forgot the second part of it. So now that the question's turned to the Democrat, I'll just ask that second part, which is, there is an organization called the Federalist Society. It is an organization of conservative and libertarian leaning lawyers, national organization. There's a chapter here in Tallahassee. My question to each of you is, are you a member? Why or why not? We'll start with Ms. Wall.
Yes, and I am well, I have been a member of the Federalist Society, National Federalist Society, because I've attended, actually, while I was a magistrate, some of the seminars that have occurred regionally in the Orlando area. I am not a member of the local because hopefully, you try to not be in any type of society or any type of organization that has a particular political philosophy. And that's something that as a judge, you cannot do. And as a magistrate, you cannot do either, or as a candidate.
Okay,
and
I wanted a quick answer from everybody. I'm just going to give everybody 30 seconds.
So I'm not a member of the local. Thank you.
I got you.
Yes,
Ms. Baker, go ahead.
No, I am not a member of the local or national Federalist Society because I've never had an interest to join. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And finally, Ms. Moody.
No, I am not a member of the Federalist Society at all.
Thank you, and thank you very much. So we'll go back to the league then for the next full question, and this time we will go in the order of Ms. Wall, followed by Ms. Baker, followed by Ms. Moody. So Ms. Steele, go ahead and ask the league's question.
Do you believe there are currently sentencing disparities among different racial groups in the Second Judicial Circuit? And if so, what can be done to change that?
Are there disparities between, did you say citizens? Sentencing, I'm sorry. Okay, I'm having a hard time with the audio a little bit. Sentencing disparities on racial. Do I think there are? I don't think that. I think that the judges in the Second Judicial Circuit do a very good job of being aware of bias and being aware of how racial disparities and how diversity issues affect the court system. And I think that the Supreme Court of Florida, and I think that the judges in the Second Circuit are well trained and do receive constant awareness training, as well as local training on diversity by some of the judges that we have here. I think they receive a lot of that training from the Supreme Court itself on bias and on being able to be aware of and to deal with any implicit bias so that they can render decisions that are fair and that are unbiased and impartial. And so as far as what the judges in the Second Judicial Circuit are doing, I think they're doing a pretty good job of staying aware and doing what they can to address in the best way possible any type of biases. Does that mean that every sentence is absolutely fair? I don't know the answer to that. I really don't. I'm sure that there are cases that anyone can bring up where they feel that the sentence is unfair.
Thank you, Ms. Wall.
Thank you.
Ms. Baker, I'm sorry.
It's
You're
okay.
next. Go ahead. Got a little confused there. Go ahead.
All good. So I'll start with some facts. In the state of Florida last year, we incarcerated about 180,000 people. Almost half of that prison incarcerated population were African Americans. Yet African Americans make up about 17% of the state population. For our brown people, the numbers are just as bleak, and for the rising population of women who are becoming overrepresented in our prison and jail populations as well. So the question is, do I think there is sentencing disparities? The facts would suggest so. What can I do to, aid in making sure that I don't personally add to that sentencing disparity? But another reason I am running is to push for implicit bias training for all of the judges in the Second Judicial Circuit. Yes, Judge Akins, he's a phenomenal judge. He holds diversity training, but we know that Judge Akins won't be on the bench, much longer. He's going to age out soon, and we need someone else to pick up that mantle and keep pushing for mandatory implicit bias training, because I believe it is important that our personal biases don't interfere with another person's justice. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And finally, Ms. Moody, go ahead.
Yes, thank you. I will say that every judge that I have appeared before, and I have appeared before lots of them, strive to always do the right thing and not to have sentencing disparities in their decisions. But it isn't just the judge making the decision on what a sentence is going to be. The majority of cases are negotiated pleas with the state. And I am in no way saying that any of the assistant state attorneys that I've worked opposite have intentionally done any type of sentencing disparity either. But I will say the facts are what they are, as Ms. Baker read them out. I can say that I have witnessed some of that. If I were to be elected this position, I do believe the part of what is definitely necessary is the awareness, the training, and the continuing education. And I believe that is what would be important to make sure that there is not sentence disparity.
I can't talk right now.
Thank you very much. The next question turns to the Democrat, and that is, if elected, you will most likely take the bench in the middle of what is surely going to be an ongoing coronavirus pandemic. Any thoughts about rendering justice in the coronavirus era, running a courtroom in the coronavirus era? Obviously, we're seeing some things being done remotely or via online technology. We may get to a point where that's no longer feasible. Just give us your general thoughts about, again, justice in the coronavirus era. And I'll start with Ms. Baker, and then Ms. Moody, and then Ms. Wall. But Ms. Baker, you can go ahead and answer first.
Okay, thank you. Let's make no mistake about it. The judges in the Second Judicial Circuit have been phenomenal when handling cases during this COVID era. We shut down for a few months, but now we're back up and running. Judge Marsh has been great at educating a lot of other judges and helping them understand how to use Zoom, how to be effective in the use of telephonic hearings along with Zoom. So we're up and we're running. I have a final hearing scheduled for next month in one of my divorce cases. It has been a complex divorce case, and the fact that we're coming to a conclusion via Zoom, I think is absolutely wonderful. So, stepping onto the bench during this COVID era, I will just continue to do what the judges who are already on the bench are doing, because they are making sure that they are having plea hearings for those who are incarcerated. They're, working hard to make themselves available to get individuals out of jail. And they are making themselves available to the lawyers for any other hearings. Now, trials is going to be another animal. So once I step on the bench, I will make sure that I prioritize my trial calendar, so that the individuals who are in custody, who are desperately waiting to have their day, in trial, they will be heard first. But I think we're doing a phenomenal job with Zoom and the telephonic hearings here in the Second Judicial Circuit, and I plan to continue that. Thank you.
Ms. Baker, thank you very much. And we turn to Ms. Moody.
Yes, I absolutely agree. We've been doing a great job in the court admin, and the judiciary that we have sitting on the bench right now has been doing a great job at using technology, Zoom, telephonic hearings, trying to move the cases that we can. Regardless, there is going to be a backup, and eventually one day we will be able to be back in the courtroom with people in the courtroom being able to do the trials and have the hearings that we need to have. And that is going to take organization, and it's going to take dedication, and someone that does know how to run a courtroom. And I do know that. I know how to run a courtroom. I am organized, and I have the dedication. And that's what it will take to get through the backlog and make sure that even though justice has been delayed for so many, that it won't continue to be delayed once we're able to be back in the courtroom with actual live people. Thank you.
Ms. Moody, thank you. And finally, Ms. Wall.
Thank you. I've had the experience prior to having to resign. When I qualified to run for this office, I, as a magistrate, had to resign according to the Supreme Court rules. Prior to that, there was, 6 weeks to 2 months worth of time where I was running my courtroom every day, hearing cases during COVID. And so we began that in my courtroom at the courthouse because of the fact that my courtroom had the technology and the ability to do it. And so we tested a lot of how we would be doing in the Second Circuit cases by video conference, starting off in the family courts and in the courtroom that I presided over. So I've already had that experience. And as well, I think it's important to understand we've got, we're going to have almost a year of, 10 months to a year of no jury trials for our criminal cases. And really, if we start having some by Zoom in the civil arena, still a very large backup. And so having an understanding of how to run a courtroom and how to run a docket in the judicial system is something that you only get by doing it. And, being a magistrate is a great training ground for that, obviously. I feel like I have that experience in addition to having done actual cases during COVID in the environment that we'll have to do them into the future, because anyone who is elected for this position will be doing that in January of 2021. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Okay, we turn now. The next question goes to the league, and you will answer in the order of Ms. Moody will answer first, followed by Ms. Wall, followed by Ms. Baker. So Ms. Steele, go ahead with your question.
Thank you, sir. We've got a really good question that's coming. Were you to be elected, what, if anything, can you do to guarantee that there will be no disproportionate sentencing of African-American defendants?
The best that I could do if elected is to, as I stated before, make sure that I'm aware, that I am educated, and that I am taking into account the types of cases, the background, the history, and what the dispositions are that are either being offered by the state or that I'm being asked to consider. I believe that awareness and knowledge are going to be the two biggest things that we can do to make sure that that does not happen to the best of our abilities.
Ms.
Wall.
Wall, I believe you're next.
Okay. Yeah, as a judge, I will follow the law, and I will do what I have been doing for 6 years, which is having a courtroom that is respectful and fair and unbiased, regardless of who is appearing, whatever their racial or sexual or gender orientation, it doesn't matter. And so what I will do to ensure that there is not disproportionate sentencing if I am assigned to a criminal division is to continue that pledge and that philosophy, really, my judicial philosophy of being fair and impartial. I have had the ability to already have training in diversity, both locally in our circuit and bias, and learning about implicit bias, both in our circuit and as a magistrate trained by the Supreme Court of Florida. And so that type of continuing education, but it's really also a pledge as the person to say that you're going to reach out to do more than that, which is something that I have done and that I will continue to do. Because these types of things are voluntary, they are not necessarily mandatory. And so anything that you do in education and learning and awareness so that you can implement it every day in the courtroom is really up to you. And I will continue to do that. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And finally, Ms. Baker.
Thank you. Like I've already stated, one of the reasons I am running for judge is to push for mandatory implicit bias training here in the Second Judicial Circuit. And in addition to that, also work with any organization, as long as I won't be stepping outside of my confines in my role as judge. But I would be willing to work with any organization who, wanted to come into the courtroom to help establish better transparency with respect to sentencing. I remember as an attorney, looking for information regarding, sentencing disparities. I wanted to be able to take the same charge and take that charge and find out, well, what are other defendants being offered for this charge? What is the average rate of incarceration for this particular charge based on the number of points, based on the gender, based on the type of offense and how it was committed. But I couldn't find that information. And we simply can't improve what we don't measure. So I would love to see, some sort of measurement, some sort of standard, some sort of record keeping take place in our judicial system where that record keeping, that, information is kept track of. And, that way we can, address the issue, not run away from it, but confront it. And that way we can all improve it. Because I start from the position that
Ms. Baker, I'm sorry, I got to stop you there. I apologize.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, the questions turn back to the Democrat. And the next question is, I'm going to ask each of you, tell me one example of how your thinking has evolved or even changed 180 degrees on a particular subject. Again, one example of how you're thinking about a subject, a particular subject, has evolved or even changed 180 degrees. I'm going to start with, tell you what, this time I'm going to start with Ms. Moody, followed by Ms. Wall, followed by Ms. Baker again. And so, Ms. Moody, why don't you go ahead and take a stab at that one?
That is a very tough question. A subject where my thinking has totally changed around 180 degrees about something. Wow. Does it have to be just in the legal field, or can it just be? in
It
life
can be
itself?
anything, and it doesn't even necessarily have to be 180 degrees. Just something a matter of substance that your position significantly evolved on.
Because that's pretty extreme, 180 degrees. The thing that comes straight to mind is long time ago, hearing all about how horrible pit bulls were, and pit bulls should be outlawed. And my thinking has changed 180 degrees over the last over 20 years of working with animals and helping foster animals, and knowing how that it isn't just about a breed, that it is also about how an animal is raised and treated, and that you cannot judge a dog by its breed, and that pit bulls actually can be wonderful, sweet additions to any family. And that is the biggest, I believe, 180 that I have had over the last 20 years after getting in and actually working with animals and doing the foster work that my husband and I have over the last 20 years.
I'll take that answer. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Ms. Wall, go ahead.
Thank you. Kind of along the same vein, except within the law. You know, when I was a young attorney, very committed to one side of an argument. And I think that that's kind of natural for newer attorneys to be just extremely committed to one side of an argument. And as an advocate, of course, that's what you're promoted to do, because you are there to win or to best represent your client on one particular side. But I think as I have got more into my farther years of experience, there's always a lot more than one side to a particular view of something. And I think it's a important thing to recognize and an important thing to strive for. In order to strive for it, of course, you have to do a lot more understanding and research into both sides of an argument, whether it be a political argument, whether it be a legal argument, whether it just be an argument over a topic between friends. There's always a lot more to it than just one side, and being so strongly and only committed to that one side really blinds you from seeing properly the thing as a whole. And I hope to strive as a judge to continue to have that ability to strive to see everything as a whole, so that you aren't blinded. Thank you.
And Ms. Wall, I appreciate your answer. I did specifically ask for a specific subject. I know that Ms. Moody gave pit bulls as an example. Can you give a specific subject as an example?
Yeah, my specific subject would be as an attorney, you know, as a young attorney developing into a more mature, shall we say, a lot more years of experience.
Okay, I'm going to leave it at that, and I will turn next to Ms. Baker.
Okay, I didn't know I was going to have a therapy session today, but my 180 moment came actually during this campaign. You know, campaigning is not for the faint, you know, at heart. So I would say it has been to not internalize personal attacks. And whereas before the campaign, I probably would have taken out on it. I would normally take a personal attack. Not that I got meaning though, but I would normally take a personal attack to heart and to think that, you know, it was something wrong with me. But now I realize that it's not, that I was wonderfully and beautifully made by my creator, and that a personal attack is more of a reflection of the person who is actually levying the attack. So instead of taking it personally and internalizing it, I pray for them.
Thank you very much. And by way of explanation, not necessarily every question is going to be on the law or legal interpretations. People elect judges, they elect whole persons, and we try to elucidate as much of that whole person while we have you as we can in these forums. So thank you very much for your answer. And at this point, we're going to move on to what we call the lightning round. We're going to ask I will ask a series of questions, and the idea here is to just Answer as briefly as you can. One sentence. One sentence is all we're looking for. To just a handful of questions. So the first question is, and we'll start this time. Let's see what order we're going to take this in. We'll start with Ms. Wall. For all of these, we'll start with Ms. Wall, followed by Ms. Baker, followed by Ms. Moody. And the first question is, outside of your family, who's your closest advisor?
My good friend, Kim.
Ms. Baker.
Okay, so for marital and family advice, anything outside of the law, I would say Lisa Mitchell. She has been my lifetime friend since Godby. And professionally, I would say Mutaki Akbar.
You were a little bit muffled on that last response. I'm sorry.
For professionally, Mutaki Akbar.
Okay, thank you. And Ms. Moody.
Well, it would depend on the subject that I was seeking advice on. I have a strong group of friends that I turn to all the time, and they know who they are, and I am very thankful for them. And professionally, and as Nancy Daniels would be one of the people that I turn to quite a bit. She has been a great mentor to me over the years.
All right. Next question. Do you put any personal restrictions on, aside from whatever legal restrictions there may be, from who or what you can take a campaign contribution from? Can you name any organization or group that you would not take a campaign contribution from if asked? And again, we'll start with Ms. Wall.
Well, under the canons, we can't take contributions from political parties or political organizations. So if you were asked by a political organization, you can't take a campaign contribution from them.
Okay, if there was a private party that wanted to give you money, would there be anyone that would concern you?
You mean like a business or
sure. Anything, non-political party or political committee?
I mean, if there was a business that was somehow related, I guess, specifically to one political party or the other, then no, I wouldn't take the campaign contribution.
Okay, Ms. Baker, you're next.
I would have to say the NRA.
Ms. Moody, you're next.
I would have to agree with what Ms. Wall said, and it was somehow politically related, I would not be able to. And if it was an extreme viewpoint, I believe that would not look well for a judicial candidate to take a contribution from a group or an organization or a business that had extreme viewpoints either, because those businesses are known by those viewpoints, and judges and judicial candidates are always supposed to be unbiased and not get involved in that type
Gotcha.
of thing.
Next question. Even though it's the law of the land, what do you feel about cameras in the courtrooms in Florida? Ms. Wall.
I think cameras in the courtroom are good because it's a great way for people to see what happens in court, and it's also a great way to ensure, as we can, that the process is impartial and unbiased, and it's allowed, and it's part of the law. So I think it's very good.
Ms. Baker.
I welcome it. And we already have cameras inside of the courtrooms, as long as the identities of children and victims of domestic violence or sexual abuse, their identities are protected. I welcome the use of cameras.
And Ms. Moody.
I absolutely believe in transparency. So as long as the law and the rules were followed and certain people who should not be on camera were not on camera, such as children and the like, then yes, I absolutely believe in the transparency of having cameras in the courtroom.
Next question. Outside of your legal career, what would you tell someone is your biggest contribution to the community? Outside of the law, what's your biggest contribution to the community? Ms. Wall.
Volunteering, I guess, because in my personal life, when my kids were younger, I have 4 children that have gone through the Leon County schools. And so I, spent the majority of their childhood volunteering, and then as I went on and was working and even now I volunteer in the law. I know you're not interested in that portion of it, but I also volunteer, teaching. I also volunteer in, food distribution, for Second Harvest and for other faith-based organizations. So I think volunteering is an important contribution.
Ms. Baker.
I would have to say the positive seeds that I plant in the minds of the youth. So it has been through volunteering. Back in 2015, I was a mentor with Ernie Sims's STARS program, where, he would take children to FSU football games and, have mentors go and help aid in that. I also did a life coaching program at East Gaston High School in Quincy, Florida, where I'm from. When it was East Gaston, it's Gaston High now. And I brought in a life coach, Kevin Warren from the Life Group, who is absolutely phenomenal. And then I hosted a free soccer program on the south side of Tallahassee that was held at Florida A&M Intramural Field. So it has been through different, volunteering programs with the youth. I have had the opportunity to engage with them and to speak positively over their lives and expose them to different opportunities.
All right, Ms. Moody.
I would have to say our kids, and not only our biological children, but my husband and I also took children that were in need into our home and helped raise them as well. And it goes to the community service, and it goes to our shared belief that one-on-one help and community service is so important. And now to be able to go out there in the world and have people tell me how our children have paid it forward. And even, like I said, our children who are not our biological children, but how they are helping and help them get a hand up and help them get ahead in life and help them fix something, or just having compassion and being nice and talking to someone, having people come back and tell us about that. There's no greater feeling than knowing that you put good, strong people out there helping others in the world.
Thank you for your answer. And we went way over one sentence on many of those, but that's okay. Bearing in mind the time, I'm going to move to closing statements from each of the candidates. This is your opportunity to tell those viewers who are voters why they should vote for you rather than your opponents. I'm going to give you 2 minutes each, and I'm going to go back to the order of Ms. Baker. You'll have an opportunity to go give your closing statement first, and then Ms. Moody, and finally Ms. Wall. And again, each of you will have 2 minutes. And as soon as I can get my technology to reboot, and there it is, we're ready to go. So Ms. Baker, you've got 2 minutes. Go ahead.
Okay, thank you. Thank you again to the Tallahassee Democrat and the League of Women Voters. Again, to the people of the Second Judicial Circuit, I am Tiffany Baker, and I am running to be your next circuit judge. My platform is simple. It is about respecting the people, respecting the law, and respecting the bench. I am easy to distinguish from my opponents, both of them whom I have great respect for. They're great women, and I think that either one of us would do a great job on the bench. But I am not running on what I've done. I'm not running on my experience alone. I am running on what I'm going to do. And as your Second Judicial Circuit judge, I am going to serve you by pushing for implicit bias training to be mandatory annually, so that we can make sure that the personal biases held by any judge does not interfere with another individual's justice. In addition to that, I will step on the bench as a judge who is mindful of the criminal justice reform that is sweeping this nation. It is a bipartisan issue, and it sees the need for rehabilitation as well as incarceration. We as a judge can play a role in strengthening our communities by also doing what we can by strengthening individuals. And lastly, I believe that in order for the people to respect the bench must respect the people. And that's treating each and every member of our community that steps into the courtroom with the dignity and respect that they deserve. That's also by affording each and every member of this community with the equal opportunity to be heard. And it's also following the law, not putting my personal beliefs or my political party affiliations above anyone's justice or the law. So ladies and gentlemen, I believe that, how you start is a good indication of how you finish. And I got on the ballot by collecting over 3,000 petitions from all 6 counties within the 2nd Judicial Circuit. So I got out there and I wanted to listen to you. I wanted to hear from you, and I wanted to know what you thought would make a good judge. And that is someone who's going to listen compassionately, someone who has the temperament to be patient and to afford everyone in this community with an equal opportunity to be heard. It's about respecting the bench, respecting the law, and respecting the people. So vote for Tiffany Baker on August 18th.
Ms. Baker, you were on a roll, so I let you go a little bit longer, but I also wanted to ask you, do you have a website that you want to share with our viewers?
Yes, please. Visit TiffanyBaker2020.com. Thank you.
TiffanyBaker2020.com. All right. Next up will be Ms. Moody, and we're going to change the rules of the game since I gave Ms. Baker about 3 minutes. Let's go ahead. We'll give you 3 minutes as well. Ms. Wall will give you 3 minutes as well. Ms. Moody, go ahead when you're ready.
Have you unmuted me now?
You have been unmuted. Your time will restart. Go ahead.
Thank you. First of all, thank you to the Tallahassee Democrat and to the League of Women Voters for putting this forum on today and giving us this opportunity to speak to the voters out there in our circuit. Being a judge requires a combination of talent, experience, demeanor, and knowledge. It's not just one thing that is needed to be a good servant to the people. And that is really what I truly believe. Being a judge isn't something for an ego trip. It isn't something for a power play. It is as a servant to the people. And I have been a servant, a public servant, assistant public defender for almost 20 years for the people. I have stood next to thousands of clients, representing them, crying with them, celebrating with them. I shared humanity, had a shared humanity with my clients. And so, yes, I have over or almost 20 years of experience in criminal law, and I do have 8 years experience as a paralegal in antitrust civil law, and I do have experience being a certified family law mediator and doing pro bono divorces and other cases in family law as well. So I do have more of a well-rounded professional experience, but I also have a well-rounded life experience as well, by the people I had met in the travels when my dad was in the Air Force and we were being stationed overseas and in different states, the diverse cultures that I've learned even in our own United States. Every place is different and every community is different. I have worked in all 6 counties of our 2nd Judicial Circuit as an assistant public defender. And even every county is different. The communities in each county is different. And we need to recognize that and celebrate that as well. And I believe that is important. And it's also having the demeanor, which is someone who has the patience, who recognizes that this is a job of service. And that is one reason why I ran for circuit judge, because it did seem as if it was the next logical goal in my lifelong work as being a servant to the people. And being a judge, I believe that I would bring the knowledge, the experience, and the demeanor that is needed for that service to our citizens of the Second Judicial Circuit. So that is why I am asking for everyone to vote for me for Circuit Judge Group 4 on August 18th. I do have a website. It is electninamoody.com. You can also find us on Facebook, Nina Moody for Circuit Judge. And I ask everyone to please come check out the website, check out my qualifications, check out what people are saying on Facebook in the testimony.
Ms. Moody, I've got to stop you there because I let you go a little bit over 3 minutes, but it's just so we're certain. Again, I like to repeat the actual website name: Elect Nina Moody, one word, all together. That is .com.
Absolutely, that's it.
Okay, very good. Finally, closing statement from Ms. Wall, and again, we'll give you the extended 3 minutes whenever you're ready. Go ahead.
Well, thank you for the opportunity, the League of Women Voters and the Democrat, for giving us this opportunity to address the voters. It's very difficult in the time of this COVID crisis to do so. I have a proven track record of being able to preside over cases from beginning to end over the past 6 years. And experience is something that's important. Look, the circuit judge is going to have in Leon County, hearing possibly being in criminal division or in civil division or in the family division. And we haven't talked a lot. A lot of the questions weren't about anything to do with family or civil. They really concentrated on criminal, which is very important, of course. But also the area of family law is, 40% of what walks in the courthouse every single day. And 60% is basically everything else. And so, having the experience in family, which includes domestic violence and dependency and delinquency cases, as well as civil family cases, is very important. It really is. I've been there, hearing from mothers and fathers and wives and husbands and children and witnesses and hearing their most intimate matters of their lives, and having to, in a very fair, impartial, but also a compassionate way, be able to make a decision for the family because they were unable to make decisions on their own. These types of things are really important, and they touch everyone. I don't think there's anyone out there who doesn't know someone who hasn't been touched somehow by a family law case or by a criminal case or by a civil matter. And so who is sitting there and listening to your case is very important. And I've tried over the 6 years of doing this to not just simply go and do my job every day, but to do more than that, to learn more than that, to learn more about different sides of different views of things in the law, and also in areas like in trauma and how that affects families. I think it's really important to have that dedication, to take that extra time and that extra initiative to do that. And so I'm committed to doing that. And I will continue to do so as a circuit judge. I have the experience, of course, but I think you could ask anyone who has been in my courtroom or who is worked with me in the courthouse about my demeanor and the strong commitment I have to the feeling that everyone should have the ability to have access to our court system, and to have that access in a very, impartial, unbiased, and respectful way. And that has been something that I've championed in my courtroom throughout the time that I was privileged enough to be able to serve as a magistrate, and I will continue to do so if I'm privileged to be elected as judge.
Ms. Wall, you're at 3 minutes, so I'm going to ask you to also share your website if you have one.
Absolutely. It's AmandaWallForJudge.com, and I invite you to please go to it. And also I have a Facebook, again, Amanda Wall for Judge, and you'll be able to find me there.
All right,
Thank
but
you very much.
the website name is AmandaWallForJudge.com.
Yes, that's correct. Thank you.
Okay. Wanted to make sure. We are over time, so I'm going to quickly walk us out. I want to thank the League of Women Voters of Tallahassee and Felicia Steele for being with us today. I obviously want to thank all of our candidates for being here. Tiffany Baker, Nina Moody, Amanda Wall. They are all running for Circuit Judge, 2nd Judicial Circuit in this election cycle. You can see the League's website is at the bottom of your screen. And you can find a replay of this forum and all of our forums on our website, tallahassee.com/elections. Once again, tallahassee.com/elections. And you can also find a link to our full special election section. Excuse me. It's already been a long day. Thank you all very much for being with us.
Thank you.
Thank you for those of us, for those of you online, thank you for watching. We got to go.